Hi, everyone. I'm Carl Bierock. Welcome back to the Jaguar Football Podcast. And with us today is the head coach of Seckman Football, Dr. Nicholas Baer. Coach Baer, very good to see you. Appreciate you taking time out during camp to talk to us today.
Thanks, Carl. We just finished up with the seventh day of camp, and we got one more tomorrow, one more day tomorrow, and then Thursday we'll wrap up our 2026 camp at Farmington High School with a little joint practice.
It's one of those other milestones that we know, like always before Dead Week, you have that one scrimmage or some kind of joint practice. So we're excited about that. Thought today we could also talk about the number 228 and what that means for the Junior Jaguar program. And then talk about Dead Week and then what's just beyond Dead Week, because that's when the season really starts to get cooking, Coach. So thought we could start off and get your takeaways from camp. Right now, we have more camp behind us than we do in front of us, and
Right.
wanted to get your initial thoughts about how the camp has been going so far.
Yeah, when the season ends last year, you have a lot of work to put into the weight room, and guys are building their bodies, putting all this work in, and then camp is really that first opportunity to go out to the field, put the helmet and shoulder pads on, and really get used to playing football now in your new body, right? This new body that you built, and it's the first opportunity to kind of get in front of coaches and build that first impression. Are you going to stick out? Are you going to stand out because of your attitude and your effort and your motor at practice? Or are you sticking out because you're not finishing plays or you're not finishing drills? And this is really that first opportunity for us to really truly evaluate those things with our athletes. And like I said, we'll finish up with camp, as a whole group tomorrow. And then at Farmington on Thursday, and we'll use these last 2 days to really evaluate where we're at as a team, and kind of where we need to go to start preparing for week one, in 3 weeks when we get back from the dead week.
Yeah, as doing these podcasts with you the last few years, you talk about attitude and effort.
Mm-hmm.
What type of conversations happen behind the scenes with the different coaches? I mean, you're running 3 teams. Tell me a little bit more about what you talk about and what you look for in a player.
Yeah, when the school year starts and our real jobs kind of start really kicking in with teaching and stuff, we don't have as much time, to really meet and discuss as a whole staff. But during camp, I mean, we make it a point. We meet 45 minutes to an hour every day after camp, and we're kind of trying to figure, okay, what worked at practice that today, what didn't, who stood out in this drill or who stood out in this team period, and quite honestly, who's not standing out, who's not working as hard as they need to, and what conversations do we have to have with these players, before practice starts the next day. I mean, just because a guy goes out and has one bad day or one bad practice, you don't give up on him. Okay, now you figure out, okay, well, how can we get the most out of him, and how is he motivated? How do you motivate this player? Are they a guy that you need to get on, or do you have to try to figure out what's a little bit behind it, and use some different tools in the toolbox, as they say, to get the most out of them. So, those are the conversations that are happening every day after camp that, quite honestly, when the season starts, we just don't have the time to do. So really trying to get a sense of where each guy is mentally, and then where we can hopefully take them physically throughout the season.
Would it be fair to say, Coach, that like positions, still open
Mm-hmm.
for many of them, and you talked about I think it was maybe 2 or 3 podcasts ago. It's like, okay, here's your role, and if something happens or whatever the case may
Right.
be, you're elevated in the depth chart. Just
Yeah.
trying to
What
get a feel for where we currently stand there, and the communication with the players.
Yeah, I mean, our practices are always driven by competition and guys, competing for starting spots on Friday nights. Now, I mean, it's not like every position is up for grabs, right? I mean, Brody Kuby is our 3-year starting quarterback, okay, but we still need him to operate and play at a high level. But yeah, there's certainly spots on the defensive line, spots on the offensive line, guys battling it out, in the backfield and at the receiver positions for touches, and who we can trust with the football and who's going to work hard when they don't have the football. So those are things, that are happening on a daily basis that we're evaluating. And, really you kind of have, we've talked about our blue team and our gold team, right? Blue team being the starters, or that first team, and gold being the second group, and silver being the third. And when you're doing it this early, a lot of times you're making blue and gold just so we know where the reps are going, and we can divide them up and give guys equal opportunity. And for players, hey, okay, just because you have that blue stamp on you right now, doesn't mean that you're guaranteed starter, or you don't have guys crawling up from the gold team, trying to grind it out and beat you out for your spot, because certainly we do. And then you, as a coach, okay, you put a guy on the gold team, so right off the bat, okay, they're not achieving their goal of starting right now, right? They're on that goal team, and we've had guys respond in different ways. Obviously the right way to respond is, well, I'm going to show up to practice every day. I'm going to show and prove to coaches with my attitude and my effort at practice, that I belong on the blue team, and hey, I might be still down here grinding away on the gold, but I'm going to wait up for that guy at the blue to mess up. The second that he don't show up to practice, or he makes a mistake, well, I'm going to step up and I'm going to get my opportunity. And that's where we want to see our gold players operating, right? And that's not always the case. If you're a gold player and you show that disappointment, and you're only taking 2 hard steps off the ball, and you're not finishing at the football, and you continue to make mistakes, and the coaches can see your effort, that's not how you prepare yourself to be on the field. And we've had a couple guys go that way, and then that becomes part of the conversations that we hit on earlier, where it's still July. I mean, there's a long way to go. This is a long football season. And to have your head down about maybe being a second team player right now, that's just not, well, you're not being a team player. You don't have the team mindset, and it's up to us to correct it. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job with the few guys that may have felt that way, and now one day you have it, one day you don't. So now we have to just stay on these guys and make sure we're getting a high level effort out of them.
Yeah, sounds good. And so if I understand correctly what you're saying, there's still a lot of time left, after dead week. Once the official practices start, that's where, the players can still, find their spot on the team, right?
Well, we have, Carl, guys get hurt, guys get injured, guys get sick. I mean, it's just, these things happen. And when a guy goes down, we need somebody ready to step right into that role.
Very good. And Coach, one of the recent postings we put on Facebook got a lot of reaction, and it all deals around the number 228. And you see this picture here on your screen. You see just a swarm of junior Jaguar players. What does this picture mean to you?
Yeah, for me, I was out at we started our junior Jaguar team camp this last week and into this week, so it was kind of their first time, really coming together as teams. And I'm out at practice, nightly, especially right now I'm out there nightly with my 2 sons being out there, and then kind of running it. Right now I'm basically the equipment manager for 228 youth players. But I was sitting out there and just thinking about how cool it is, and seeing all these guys. So I'm like, man, I got to get the drone up and really get a good shot of this. And just for people that may not be out there to see or know what's going on. And, initial thoughts when I look at a photo like this, I see 6 teams, but 1 program, right? 6 teams, 1 program, 1 community. And that was kind of, when we kind of started really taking this over last year. We needed to get away from, this is my team, or this is this, 6 different teams under 1 banner. It was basically 6 different banners and 6 different teams, running 6 different things and doing 6 different things every night, practicing different nights, practicing in different places. So, for me, looking at this, and you see 228 youth coaches, we got our youth players. There's about 40 coaches out there. 35 to 40 coaches. And I mean, these guys are going and working 7, 8 hour, 9-hour jobs, and then coming out here and sweating it out on the practice field with these guys. With much respect to these people too, or those coaches. But, when I look at that picture, you can kind of see how we have each team divided, those 6 teams, 1 program, 1 community. And that's the community aspect that I really like. Every one of these kids, every one of these coaches lives in the Seckman School District, has decided to raise their kids into this community. And these kids could be out, they could be at home, they could be doing anything, but they're here playing football, and they decide to be here. And then, you start to see the bonds that are forming, and it's really fun to think about these guys. The little guys are all the way down the bottom left corner. you know, those group of guys could be playing football together for the next 8 years. And in 8 years, it'll be fun for me to coach them as seniors and kind of really see all that growth all the way up and through. So for me, it's just really about the community aspect, and kind of. I really wish, and sometimes our Seckman community, I'm trying to figure out a way I want to say this. Sometimes I really wish like we had a different name of our high school. Um, I really want to go back to when they built Fox High School. Could we have named Fox High School? Could we have named it Arnold High School? I really feel like when the high school has the city name, there's just a little bit more of that community feel, right? That little bit more of that community pride. Um, Farmington High School. I'm from Farmington. I go to Farmington High School. Festus High School. Need we say the pride that the Jackson community has, right? But here it's like, well, Fox High School, and no disrespect to who the hell we named Fox after, right?
Right.
But if we could have named Fox Arnold High School, I'm from Arnold. I go to Fox High School. So then that way, when we built Seckman, instead of calling Seckman High School, and no disrespect to wherever hell the last name Seckman came from, but if we were called Imperial High School, I'm from Imperial. I go to Imperial High School. I play for the Imperial Jaguars or whatever the hell it is. That's kind of where that real community bond in my mind sometimes comes from. Now, what do you name Windsor High School? Hell, I don't know. What's that little river town they have out there?
Oh, Kimswick?
Kimmswick High School. Let them have it. We're the Kimmswick Owls. We're brown and yellow, right? Some can't go back and turn it back the clock at all. But sometimes I feel like if we were Imperial High School, it could have that little bit more of a bond. But now we don't have that. All right, so now I've tried to build that. We try to feel that with what we're bringing out here with the youth now in our Seckman community, because that's who we are. That's what we do. So it's just a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun watching the little guys out there and the coaches at work, and then really kind of looking forward, knowing when all that work will pay off when they get up to the high school.
Yeah, I never really thought about that.
I went off on a tangent there, Carl.
No.
That was what they call a shower thought. you know what shower thoughts are, Carl? Sometimes you're thinking in the shower. For me, I do a lot of thinking when I cut grass.
Yeah, I usually do mine either at the car wash, or I just stare up at the ceiling and hope for inspiration. And
right.
Sometimes it gets me, sometimes it doesn't.
Right. How do you capture that Jackson pride, that Farmington pride, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Coach,
pride. How do you keep building that? And we're getting closer. But yeah, no one's going to go back and start renaming high schools because Coach Baer had a shower thought. But
no, I went to high school at Waubonsie Valley, up near the Chicago suburbs. So it was named after a tribe. But there were also schools adjacent that was like Aurora East, Aurora Central, Oswego West, Oswego, like the main, kind of like you think about like the Howells up there in St. Charles
County.
Yeah,
I mean, you get south of Windsor, and everybody's high school is named after their town. Hershey, DeSoto. I mean, go on down the line. So, for us, sometimes we just get too close to the St. Louis County vibes, which on those people up there. So, is what it is.
No, it's a good thought, and I think about seeing this group and having players that have transitioned through the Junior Jag program.
Mm-hmm.
All that's involved in it. You think about like the homecoming parade; it's going to be huge. It's just it's a nice way to show the community, that they stand behind this program and they want to be involved. And like you said, they could do a million other different things. The parents can do a million other different things. It's them getting them to practice. They're not the age to drive, clearly.
Well, and Carl, it's ultimately these kids are, hopefully we're instilling this and they're growing up. Obviously wanting to be a lot of things, but one of them, they want to be a Seckman football player. Because that's all they know, right? And that's what they want to do. Obviously we want them to do other things and focus on schoolwork and things like that. But, ideally these guys are growing up, looking up to the players at the high school now and aspiring to be them, and achieve the things that they've done. I mean, like I said, even when I was growing up, I can remember, my birthday parties were always We'd go to a Friday night football game down here at Seckman, and then we'd go to Pizza Hut after. Those were my birthday parties. And I grew up wanting to be a Seckman football player. So now, and we really didn't have that youth league back then. We was just talking about this last night. It was JCYA, and the eighth grade had two teams, but it wasn't like Seckman eighth grade and Fox eighth grade. It was the heavy Panthers, which was basically the select group, and then the light Panthers, which if you weighed 140 pounds or less, you were on the light Panthers. And that's kind of where I was, my eighth grade year, my first year. So, never really got to be a Seckman Jaguar until it was, my freshman year. So, now, we're doing this at a young age, and it's just fun to see, that 228 number last year was 190. So, when you look at that kind of a growth, 38 players tells us we did something right last year. Our coaches did something right. We did something right as a program, and we're inviting more people from the community to kind of really be a part of this. And you know what? Next year maybe it's 250.
Yeah, there's.
I'm not sure how my youth coaches would feel about that. They got their hands full right now, but we're just it just shows that we're achieving what we wanted to achieve when we set out here, as far as providing this football opportunity for the most people possible.
Yeah, it's so good to see. It's so good to see. And if you haven't witnessed this in person, the big group there on the practice field, it's definitely worth taking a look because it is quite impressive. So, Coach, appreciate you sharing your thoughts on that. And so next week is Dead Week. For those that maybe don't know or not familiar, wonder if you can just give us the quick elevator talk on what is Dead Week and what are ways that the team or the players, for that matter, let's just call it the players, can stay engaged and keep doing and maintaining that discipline and momentum that they took from the off season into camp.
Right. Yeah. Dead Week is that Misha sanctioned week where players and coaches are not allowed to have any contact together. Basically, and we do a good job in my mind of balancing our summer, but basically, the state of Missouri put this in so players can, have some time off and away from their coaches. Before the season starts, great opportunity, if you're like me, to go on vacation if you don't want to miss any football. But basically, people always ask me, well, is the field open? Can the kids still come up to the field and throw? The players can do whatever they want together. They can come up to the turf. They can throw. We have the sleds down at the practice field. They can come up and hit them. But ultimately, I can't have any contact as far as seeing these guys and instructing them or telling them, hey, you guys need to be up here on Monday from 8 to 9 doing this, that, the other. That's what this week is. It's a break. It's a full dead week. It goes basically for us, it starts on that. Well, for JV and freshmen, it starts on Thursday. For varsity, it starts on Friday and runs all the way through that Sunday. And then Monday morning, it's football season. And we're out there as a team, as a program at 8 a.m. and we're practicing, preparing for the season. Dead week, really need to focus on kind of all of our final paperwork things this week. Sent out a big email about our final forms. And all of our physicals. I think I've got about 25 to 30 athletes right now that are not eligible, according to final forms. So make sure we're reading our emails and figuring out what we need to do. If you have a question, reach out to me, and then I'll try to get, you situated as best I can. Look, next week this time I'm going to be on a beach, so I'm trying to get as much of this taken care of before we leave as possible. So if you have a question, reach out to me in the next couple of days. And we'll get it situated.
Yeah, Coach, and it's critical they get those documents in because you need so many practices in order to play in the first game, correct?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no exceptions. If you're not cleared on that Monday and you miss Monday's practice, you miss Tuesday's practice, you have to have 14 practices before the first game. You're not going to achieve that. So no, Coach, I'm going to get it by Thursday. Well, if you don't get that physical till Thursday, and Thursday's your first day, you're not going to be playing in the first game. Not to mention, our equipment protocol kind of starts all over. The summer is the Wild West. Everybody can do whatever the hell they want, whatever. And then all of a sudden, when we start back up again, we kind of have to really start all over. So the state of Missouri says, the first 2 days you have to be helmets only. And then the next 3 days, you can only be helmet and shoulder pads. And then on the sixth day, um, you can go full pads. And on the seventh day, we rest, right? So, that's the protocol we have. So if you miss Monday and Tuesday's practice, well, on Wednesday, you don't get to be half pads. You got to go 2 practices in helmet. Then your 3 days in helmet and shoulder pads start. Then your full pads. So a lot of guys, if you miss one of those first 5 practices, when we have the blue and gold game on Saturday, you're not playing in the blue and gold game. And Carl, that kind of takes us, into our next little topic here. Kind of those first 2 Saturdays after we get back from the dead week. There's 52 Saturdays in the year. I only ask for 2 Saturday mornings, and these are requirements. So like I said, 52 Saturdays a year. I only need 2 of them, and they're in the morning. The August 15th, that's our blue and gold game. That's our big kickoff to the season. We invite every parents, community, grandparents, anybody to come out. And we have a nice little inter-squad scrimmage between our freshmen, our JV scrimmage, and then we have a varsity scrimmage. And it's a real good opportunity. If you want to know, like, what the heck is my kid doing when they're out at practice? How are they progressing? This is that time where we really invite everybody out to come and see. And, last year we had a nice little ceremony with our scoreboard. We're going to invite all our sponsors back out again, and they're going to have tents and have an opportunity to, share what they do. And it's really turning into a nice big event. And it's the unofficial, official kickoff to the season sort of thing. So make it a point to be there at that blue and gold game. And then, in the past we had the cornhole tournament. We've kind of transitioned that into there certainly is cornhole, but we transitioned it to a blue and gold barbecue. That's going to be, at Bird Bee length from 11 to 1. Just a good opportunity to kind of get together at the park, hang out, eat some burgers, eat some hot dogs, and just kind of get away from the game of football, after the blue and gold game.
Yeah, it's always fun that scrimmage is fun, and then I believe it's the following week. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the dad's donuts and decals, and then the mom's practice.
So then that Saturday, and then
Yeah.
the next Saturday morning, another full Saturday. We'll have team pick. Well, excuse me, dad's donuts and decals starting at 8, and that usually goes pretty quick from about 8 to 8:30. And it's for an opportunity for dads or any fatherly figure, motherly figure in a player's life to kind of come out. You don't really get to share the game with your athlete very much. A lot of times, you're just dropping them off, and you're asking how practice went, and they say, it was fine," and that's about all you're getting. So this is your chance to slow down, eat a donut, sit with your athlete, and slap some stickers on their helmet and share a moment, because once these 2 Saturdays go, I mean, boom, season is flying by. So I invite all the dads out for that. 8:30, we'll transition into our team pictures and hustle that through about as fast as we possibly can. Everybody gets to experience that together. And then at 10 o'clock, usually around probably 10:15, we'll transition to our mom's practice. And that's always fun. Good opportunity to get the moms out there, run them around a little bit. Not too much, but, get the moms out there. Really, what it is, moms, you're not dropping your kids off with us to play checkers. You're dropping them off to play football. So, hopefully you can trust the adults, the men that you're dropping them off with. And this is that opportunity to kind of meet them, interact with them, and kind of get a sense of what it is your athlete's doing. And we always have a good time, with our moms at the moms practice. And I think my joke, and the moms get a little tired. I think my joke I usually make is I think there's a lot of pizza ordered for dinner that night after the moms practices. But not saying that only moms can cook. I mean, I cook at my house, but it's always everybody's going out to eat that night typically. So.
Yeah, it's certainly a full day for sure, and wrangling 160 or so players, coaches for the photos is a tall order. And so, Coach, we appreciate you taking time out and talking about, number one, the Junior Jag program and just what's going on in Seckman football as we get into Dead Week. We do have this podcast available for download on, of course, our regular social channels. But if you're hitting the road for Dead Week, you can always catch a past episode either on Spotify or Apple Music if you're so inclined. We encourage you to check that out. And then also you can find us on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. And so, Coach, we wrap it up here. We get closer and closer to the start of the season. Wanted to give you the floor and have you take us out at this end of July.
Yeah, we hit a lot of things with our program. I'd like to highlight, one of our current senior athletes right now, and Nick Weidler. He recently signed a Division I commitment to Southeast Missouri State to play baseball there. And for me, obviously as a football coach, I'm very happy for Nick. I've seen all the work, that he's put in, not only as in high school, but, little known fact, I actually was one of the assistant coaches on Nick's T-ball team way back in the day. Along with Brody Kuby, Nick Weidler, and Connor were all on the same T-ball team. Connor was a year younger, and Nick was hitting bombs on the T-ball field when he was 5 and 6 years old. So it's fun to really see him continue to have that success with the game of baseball and put the work in to earn this Division I commitment to SEMO. And as a football coach, it's also great to see so many times I hear, hey, if I want to achieve this goal in this sport, I can't play football. I have to only focus on baseball or only focus on the sport. And, it's just not always the case. I always just feel like, and I've always been a proponent of doing as much as you can when you're in high school, this short amount of time that you've had. So to have a multi-sport athlete, especially a football player, come out here and achieve his goals on the football field, and then achieve his dream of being a Division I baseball player, it really proves that it can work and it can happen. And we're a program that supports these types of athletes and athletes like Nick. So, extremely proud of him and his accomplishments, and really looking forward to him having a big senior year for us.
No, that's terrific. Congratulations, Nick, on that. And, we look forward to seeing what he does, on the field for us. So, Coach, again, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. And we will catch everyone on the next one.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.